days, so we're going to record it for Lincoln so we can get caught up. But we're going to finish logical fallacies now. And who can tell me what the red herring fallacy is? Nathan. Fallacy that tries to lead you away from the topic at hand. So, someone give me an example of a red herring, and if you really want to impress me, give me the actual example of the red herring, what it was used for.
Calvin and Hobbes strip.
A Calvin and Hobbes strip. You realize how many Calvin and Hobbes strips there are? There's literally thousands. You can't use a Calvin and Hobbes strip.
Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down?
No, you don't. Just give me Isaiah's ready because he remembers what the red herring was, right? Okay, go for it. Rotten fish. But how is that demonstrating the red herring fallacy? What was it used for?
Training dogs, hunting dogs.
So, okay, training dogs.
The red herring was dragged across the hound's scent, where the hound was chasing the raccoon.
And get them to chase after the rotten fish instead of the thing at hand. So that's the actual red herring. Give me an example of a red herring. If you want to use the Calvin and Hobbes strip, you can. I assume that at least some of you were doodling the Calvin and Hobbes strip in your notes when I had it up on the screen.
I can't go to school today. Mom asks, why? Because the dog got up, but take out because.
So it's a distraction tactic. So I can't go to school today. And actually what you would want to do is, I can't go to school today because there are forest fires on the West Coast. And that's just awful. What does that have to do with your ability to go to school today? Nothing. Especially because we literally had a couple blizzards today. Are we worried about forest fires right now in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Not really. Unless you're up on the North Shore. There's actually a forest fire warning right now up on the North Shore. But where we're at, with the amount of snow we got, no worries whatsoever. So that's the red herring fallacy, okay? What were some of the other fallacies we covered last week?
Special pleading.
Special pleading. What's special pleading?
I don't need to do this work because, I'm awesome.
That is the very definition of special pleading. You are the exception to whatever the rule is, right? So is special pleading always a logical fallacy? When is it not a logical fallacy?
I can't I need to write notes on my computer because I can't write down anything.
Yeah, when there's an actual exception, right? When there is a condition. There's a couple different special pleadings going on right now in my own life. Right now, what's my special pleading?
You don't have to wear a mask if you're a speaker.
I don't have to wear a mask because I'm a speaker. Does that mean that you guys don't have to wear masks? I'm not going to go down that road, but my exception is actually valid because if I had it over like this, you guys wouldn't have to hear me on a while, and then you'd be doodling even more in your notes, right? Okay, so that's a special pleading. Right now, I have a bunch of yard work projects going on in my house, and I can't do any of them because I have an injured ankle. My special pleading is that my physical therapist has said I can't do work that makes my ankle swell up. And so the work needs to be done, but I don't have to do the work because of a doctor's order. So special pleading, good. What's another logical fallacy? Okay.
Ad hominem attack.
Ad hominem, that's a big one. What's ad hominem?
When you're making like an accusation on a person's character based on their policies or point or argument that they're trying to make.
Yeah, so when you refuse to evaluate a person's argument because of a person's character. And so best example of ad hominem is literally every time a politician opens their mouth, right? No one wants to discuss the actual issues. They want to discuss what their opponent is wrong about the issues, right? So now, ad hominem, there's an exception to that, is not trusting someone because they have a history of being a liar. Is that ad hominem? No. Because they're a liar. Now, if they present their opinion publicly and you have an opportunity to assess their opinion, is saying, well, this doesn't matter because he's a liar. Is that ad hominem fallacy? Absolutely. Okay, one more. Straw man. What's the straw man?
Strawman is where you try to build your opponent's argument way up so you can knock it down easier to make their argument seem so crazy that
Well, yeah, almost the opposite of that. It's the straw man is where you only argue about the worst part of your opponent's argument. So you take the weakest point and you make that the center of their argument. So we just kind of talked about that at the beginning with the abortion example and burying the lead. Okay, for those of us who are pro-life and we want to make to see abortion be made illegal. The situation where is there a point where a mother's life might be in danger while she's pregnant? Okay, if we only attack that instead of all of the other instances like cosmetic abortion or things like that, that would be a straw man. And in fact, when you see pro-choice people arguing, that's almost always what they're doing. Okay. A very important thing going on right now, we're seeing a lot of straw man arguments. What's the most important news thing going on in the news right now? Amy Coney Barrett. Who's Amy Coney Barrett? Trump's nominee for Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat on the Supreme Court. So where the straw man comes in is Amy Coney Barrett's legal philosophy is that she's an originalist. Can someone tell me what an originalist is, Alyssa?
Where she views this stuff as like the way like the founding fathers did, not so like she's not doing it from like a certain like side, but she says like she's just doing it like in general.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
No, it's the most basic definition of originalist is she interprets the documents as she understood the creators of the documents to mean. Why is that a problem for some people today? Josh?
Because a lot of some parties don't agree with a lot of what the founders believed in.
They don't agree with what the founders believe?
Speech, full freedom of religion, the right to bear arms.
Yep.
Just specific arms.
So the argument against originalism is that over the course of the last 250 or so years since the Constitution was adopted is that the times they are a-changing, right? We have different morals, we have a different culture, we have different values in society than they did 250 years ago. So the opposite of the originalist argument is that the Constitution is a living document. Okay? The Constitution is a living document, which means we can allow for fluidity of definitions so that we can change the meaning of things, okay? And so that's more or less the two arguments. Now, those who are angry that Amy Coney Barrett is an originalist have started to say, well, if Amy Coney Barrett is an originalist, she shouldn't drive a car because cars didn't exist 250 years ago. That is a straw man argument, okay? Josh? That's all right.
But I think that, like, what she said is that the Constitution is well written in that it's big enough to be relevant today, but
Yep.
also insert word that I can't remember here enough to be a good guideline for our laws to still hold the same meaning.
Well, and to the effect that do we believe the Constitution is carved out in stone and should never ever change? No, we don't believe that. How do we know we don't believe that? What has happened to the Constitution multiple times since it was adopted? It's been changed.
Amendments have been added.
So the principle behind, if you want a new law on the books, rather than redefine and reinterpret the words of the Constitution, you amend the Constitution. And how many amendments to the Constitution are there right now? I think there's 25, isn't there?
25, yeah.
25 amendments to the Constitution. So if in fact we want a law changed, rather than say, well, this falls under what the framers of the Constitution said, we just amend the Constitution to reflect the new reality of the law we want to pass. And so Amy Coney Barrett says, I will interpret the laws of the land as they stand. I won't create new laws based on my preferences. And so that's what's going on. And we're seeing all sorts of straw man arguments against her views, and they've been awful. They've been 100% of them have been awful. They're misunderstanding, and what ends up happening is people who are arguing in that way assume the worst about someone who disagrees with them instead of just disagreeing. Josh.
I find it funny that like the media is going on about her because she's a Roman Catholic.
No.
But like Biden says he's a Roman Catholic, somebody else, Democrat says they're Roman Catholic. Like
No.
a lot of them say they're Catholic. So it's kind of hilarious that they're saying Biden, he's amazing. She's the devil because she's a Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's all sorts of logical fallacies going in there. So that kind of thing, what we would see is a double standard. It's someone's faith only matters when they disagree with what I want to happen, is that kind of thing. Okay, so that's kind of more or less a review of what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Now let's get into the new things, and what we're going to talk about today is the genetic fallacy. Anyone want to give me a good guess at what the genetic fallacy is? Nathan.
The genetic fallacy is rather than attacking the person, you attack where the argument originally originated. Like you could say, I don't like sandals because some Chinese guy made them in a sweatshop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's.
I don't like belts because the military invented belts.
I don't like belts because people have used belts to whip their children for discipline 200 years ago. Things like that.
Attack the origin.
Yeah, you attack the origin of the person or the origin of the argument, okay? So, the genetic fallacy is demonstrated in Scripture with this passage right here. Someone look it up and read it for me. John 1:46. When you have it, raise your hand. Alyssa's got it.
Almost.
Well, you didn't have it. You beat Nathan.
Okay, now I do. Okay, Nazareth, can anything good come from there? Nathaniel asked. Come and see, said Philip.
So, what's the genetic fallacy there?
Something is from Nazareth.
Yeah. So what is, for those of us who live in the Twin Cities, what is the dumpiest town around here that we can think of? Anyone want to throw it out there? Anyone want to offend anyone? Anyone no, not me. Anyone want to know the town that's most made fun of in the Twin Cities?
Chicago.
No. In the Twin Cities. Edina. Edina. And so, oh, you're from Edina. What does that mean? You're super privileged, rich kid, and you eat cake all the time. They're the cake eaters, right? So this is the sort of thing that one of Jesus' disciples said, well, the Messiah can't come out of Nazareth because Nazareth is such a miserable backwater town. Now, can something good come out of Nazareth? Right. This is one of the ways we actually work against those who argue against abortion. Think of people who were born in situations where they normally would have been aborted, and how much good that has happened because they got a chance to live their life and go to college and be something important. You know, and we would be deprived of whatever their contribution to society was. Okay, so we do not want to commit the genetic fallacy. Here's the cartoon for it if you can see it. This new student is from the South, and what do they automatically accuse that student of? Racist, right? Because of the Confederate divide in the Civil War. That is a genetic fallacy.
That's just called being an officer in 2020.
What's that?
That's just called being a police officer.
Well, so being a police officer, right now in Christian, if you're a Christian, in some circles, what are you automatically accused of? What's the word people say to you if they find out you're a Christian? No, starts with a B. Anyone know? Rhymes with frigate. Bigot! You'll be called a bigot. You're a Christian, you're automatically a bigot. Because we believe things that are no longer acceptable in society. We believe that marriage should be between one man and one woman. We believe that certain lifestyles are sinful. And rather than just say, okay, you disagree with that, what the world says is that certain things you have to approve of all of the time without exception. So they find out you're a Christian, you're automatically a bigot. This is the way I have been called a bigot. Is I've been in conversations where they found out that I'm a Christian. Well, that explains why you're a bigot.
That's an attack on free speech.
Well, it's also an attack on free speech, but this is the fallacy we're focused on. Okay? So, to quoque, and apparently I forgot to animate this slide. That's all right. To quoque. This is a Latin phrase meaning you too, not the band. You also. Right? To quoque is dismissing someone's viewpoint on an issue because he himself is inconsistent in that very thing. Anyone know someone who's been a lifelong smoker? Anyone know someone? I have people in my family who smoke. So,
Died before I was born.
yeah. So to quoque works if someone you know who is a lifelong smoker tells you you shouldn't smoke, and you say, well, you smoke, so I'm not going to listen to you. That's what to quoque looks like.
It
Okay.
might be he knows that smoking is bad for you because he smoked and now he regrets
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
addicted to it and is trying to get off.
So what to quoque ends up being is you are answering criticism with criticism. Okay? And what this does, this is a fallacy because it shifts guilt onto someone else. And any time we try to get ourselves out of personal responsibility, we're opening ourselves up to error. So really, in the end, what we say about to quoque is two wrongs don't make a right. Well, you hurt me, so I get to hurt you. Okay, so let's kind of imagine two farmers are at war with each other, and one farmer kills the other farmer's cow, and so the owner of the cow says, "Now I'm going to kill one of your sheep," and that makes it even. What happens with this kind of logical fallacy? What's the outcome?
Everyone ends up dead.
Everyone ends up dead. No, is there ever any end to vengeance?
No.
No. So
Somebody to take revenge on somebody else.
someone does something, you take revenge on them, they take revenge on you for your revenge, and you suddenly get this big colossal tennis match, and nothing gets resolved. So here's the cartoon illustrating to quoque. This is from that Logical Fallacies site I found. Responding to criticism by accusing the other person of the same error. This bubble says, I told you to turn the autoclave off last night, but you didn't. Yeah, well, you forgot to turn it off 2 nights ago, so it's not my fault. And they ask themselves, wait a minute, if no one turned it off, means it's still right. What's the autoclave? Anyone know what an autoclave is? We'll have a quick science lesson. You know it's something with fire.
Something that's easy.
It's where you test chemical reactions at high temperatures.
Oh, cool.
Right? So, well, you didn't do it first, so I didn't have to do it. If you have a sibling at home that you've ever fought with, Noah, you've committed the to quoque error. Alexander? Soon.
Well, you didn't either.
Yeah, exactly. When you start pointing fingers, that's the logical fallacy. Anyone know in Christianity where this is committed?
A lot, but I can't think of any examples.
Like maybe even something too like, well, you didn't read your Bible today, like you didn't either, or like even like different things from the church.
So, kind of like that. One of the ways it could be, and I didn't think of this until you put it in my head, when Christians are accused of being hypocrites. So if we call someone out for sinful behavior and they say, well, you're a hypocrite. Okay? So that's why. But the most often place this happens, and when Christians talk about how all the violence of the world right now, especially the violence of atheistic regimes, like what's going on in China, what happened in Nazi Germany, what happened in Russia during the Cold War, and immediately when Christians object to violence, what does someone say? The Crusades! Christians can't have an opinion on violence because of the Crusades. Exactly. That's to quoque. Alex, you can go to, yes. Do you want me to record that on the recording?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm sure Lincoln would want to know exactly when that happened. All right? All right, so that's to quoque. The next one is a faulty appeal to authority. What this looks like is an appeal to someone who has no special knowledge in the area being discussed? Josh
Scarlett Johansson says I should be president.
says you should be president.
Yes.
You know Scarlett Johansson?
No. Basically,
Well,
an actor endorsing a presidential
yeah.
candidate.
So this is going to be Celebrity Endorsements 101. Actually, celebrity endorsements are going to come down the chain. This is celebrities telling us how we should behave. Okay? Ever notice that the moment someone becomes famous, automatically their opinion on really important things in society matters? Okay? So the big celebrity one that I'm going to pick on here is, how many of you know who Leonardo DiCaprio is? You've all heard about Leo? Leonardo DiCaprio cares very, very much about global warming. And so what Leonardo DiCaprio will do is he will hop in his private jet and fly all over the world to tell people how they should change their lives because of global warming. Is there a problem with that? Now, if Leonardo DiCaprio has done the actual work on researching global warming, should we listen to him and think about what he has to say? We should entertain the conversation. Should we entertain the conversation just because Leonardo DiCaprio is Leonardo DiCaprio? Bingo. That's where we're at right now. So this is designed, the word is overawe. This is designed to impress us or make us reluctant to challenge that authority's viewpoint. Okay? So if someone presents themselves as an expert when they're not an expert, this is a faulty appeal to authority. This also happens when the topic is controversial among respected authorities, but only one opinion is sought after. Okay, I'm going to throw you guys a softball. Someone better hit a home run on this. Where are we seeing this happen right now? Alex. Well, that's cop-out. Everything is politics, right? What?
Abortion.
No, not abortion. Something even more relevant than right now. And I see at least 3 people who it immediately impacts by me looking at the class. Those 3 people are Isaiah, Alex, and Hannah. And Noah. Noah, I can't see your face sometime. The 4 of them, and kind of Josh. Josh Durinsky.
Because they're taking notes.
No, yeah, because they're paying attention. Because they're wearing masks. So what's the controversial issue right now where this is happening? Every single thing with COVID-19 has been politicized. Okay, so if you hop onto Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and see people arguing about what should be done about the pandemic, who are the experts they're going to cite? Nope, wrong answer.
Celebrities.
Wrong answer.
Government.
Wrong answer. Who are the celebrity? If you are arguing with someone about COVID-19, which are the experts you are going to use?
Probably like Dr. Fauci.
Nope, wrong answer.
CNN.
Wrong answer.
Trump.
Nope, you guys are overthinking this. Yeah, the ones that agree with you. Exactly. Okay, so another part of faulty appeal to authority, it's another logical fallacy we're not going to cover, but it's a part of this. It's called confirmation bias. You are only going to look for sources that agree with you. Okay. So, is there evidence that we should entertain the conversation, that we should consider doing lockdowns and social distancing because it helps shut down the pandemic? Is there evidence to that? Yes. Is there also evidence to the contrary that say we should open up society and open up the economy because people are losing their jobs and their livelihoods? Okay, so the people who are more worried about getting sick, which are the experts they're going to cite? The ones that agree with them. The people who are worried about opening up the economy and having less governmental restriction, who are the experts they're going to cite? The ones that agree with them. Where's the truth? Yeah, likely the truth is somewhere in the middle. Okay? When there isn't consensus among experts, likely, not always, likely the truth is somewhere in the middle. So, let's try to find a COVID-19 truth we can all kind of nod our heads to and be uncomfortable about. Is COVID-19 something to be taken seriously?
Yes.
Absolutely. I know of a pastor that lost his ability to read because he got COVID-19, because COVID-19 got into his nervous system. And he had to read sentences 4 or 5 times before he could understand them. And he's a pastor who's only 3-4 years older than me. Okay? We should be concerned about it. Should we be concerned also about the economy?
Yes.
Yeah. Are people losing their jobs and putting under undue stress? And we've seen, has there been a spike that we suspect in suicides based on what's going on? Absolutely. Is mental health important? Yeah. Is physical health important? Okay. Should we stop shouting at each other and try to find common ground somewhere in the middle?
How dare you?
It's an extreme view. I know. I'm crazy. Faulty appeal to authority. There you go. Abe Lincoln once said, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet."
The internet wasn't even theorized.
There you go. Why is that a faulty appeal to authority?
Because he never said it.
There's no internet. What does Abe Lincoln know about the internet?
Exactly nothing.
No. Now, is Abe Lincoln very wise? Did he demonstrate himself to be a wise individual? Yes, absolutely. If he said things about technology that hasn't been invented yet, should we listen to what Abe Lincoln said?
Yes.
No. So, okay, we're going to have a remedial class for Alyssa immediately after this class. No, it's so, I actually read an article, and it was just a theory. I read this when I was in college, that the American and kind of the contemporary world space exploration, the technology we have in space exploration, has stopped because too many people are trying to invent technology from Star Wars and Star Trek instead of doing where the actual science carries them. And so there are people out there trying to invent a transporter beam when maybe we should just work on what the actual science says. So, and this was just a theory, it was kind of anecdotal, but it was fun because this is exactly what's going on. Josh?
A YouTube channel called The Hacksmiths, they made a lightsaber.
Yeah.
They made an actual lightsaber?
It's retractable. And
Yeah.
it's not, it doesn't work like a real one. It's 4,000 degrees.
It's just superheated metal. It's not an
No,
actual,
It's not metal. It's actually.
it's a
actually
beam of,
plasma.
really? That's kind of awesome.
And it's retractable. And
Oh.
they made it like. What's the?
It's really cool.
What is it?
It's still technically a proto saber because
Has-
it's hooked up to the other.
Yeah.
Well, have you guys seen the videos of the people who invented jetpacks? Like they're flying around
The
Dubai.
The Iron Man suits. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the Middle East flying. It's not the ones that are like the water jets where you're flying over water. These are actual jetpacks. They're people flying in the sky. It's awesome.
Are you saying my
Yeah.
being a Mandalorian?
I think they're over like Dubai or the United Arab. Do a Google search sometime for Dubai jetpack, and it's totally worth your time. It's amazing.
Yeah, and then
Um,
there's the one that's being developed by the company you hold in your hands, and it's like Iron Man.
Oh yeah. As long as they're developing it, they repeat the scene from Iron Man where he's just whipping all over his workshop and getting the fire extinguisher robot is getting him every time. That's hilarious. That's 5 minutes of good comedy. Anyone in here seen Back to the Future 2? So you know what an actual hoverboard is. Can I tell you, as someone who grew up in the 80s, that when they had those little sideways skateboards that they invented and call them hoverboards, how disappointed with life I really was because it wasn't a floating skateboard?
Wait, your generation had disappointing hoverboards too?
No, our generation had actual hoverboards, but only in movies.
My generation got
I didn't
even
like
more
Back to the
disappointing
Future 3
hoverboards.
and 2 that much because they had the same like almost start of the movie. Where
Well,
it
all-
picks up.
Yeah, all sequels more or less are dumb. That's just the rule of thumb when it comes to cinema. Alex? No, we're not going to have this argument right now because we're wasting time. There are only 3 Star Wars movies. Yes, there are only 3 Star Wars movies, and they were all released before 1985. Okay, that I'm not entertaining discussion on that. That might go on your quiz, just so you know. Okay, that is objective fact.
That
All
is
right.
something that we will have to get wrong. There are 6 Star Wars movies
The appeal to the people is the next one. So if we have the faulty appeal to authority is on one side of this coin, what is the appeal to the people? Before I put it up, what do you think?
Many people agree with me.
Yeah.
I don't think this matters.
The viewpoint is correct because many other people agree with it. If this many people are right, how could it, or if this many people believe it, how could it be wrong? Okay, this is a very important one for Christianity because oftentimes someone who's making a poor argument for Christianity will look and say, look at how long the church has been around for. Look at how many people have been Christians. And what happens immediately when someone does that? Anyone know?
Well, this has been around for this long.
1 billion Muslims.
3 billion Christians.
Doesn't matter at that point in time. What's the difference between 3 and 1? Not a lot.
2 billion.
No, but a billion is an abstraction because it's a number so big we can't comprehend it. So you look at the 1 and the 3. There isn't that much of a difference between 1 billion and 3 billion. You don't agree with me? Look at how the government spends money. All right. So, appeal to the people. If it's wrong to appeal to someone who isn't an authority, then it is absolutely wrong to appeal to several people who aren't authorities on something, okay? Just because something is popular doesn't mean we should agree with it. Here's the big one. This is where you're going to see it in modern society today. Example, being on the wrong side of history.
Persia was a good place to live.
Persia was?
Yeah, the Persian Empire. We always see it from the Greek side.
Yeah.
And the Persian Empire was actually a really nice place.
So, who has heard the phrase wrong side of history?
I've heard it.
Okay, anyone know what context it was used in?
You're going to end up on the wrong side of history because you're the villain in this story.
Now, basically, it's what it is. So take some sort of point where there's disagreement, and you take the side where most people are on and say, see, you are outnumbered here, you're going to end up on the wrong side of history. What's the problem with being on the wrong side of history?
There is no wrong side of history.
There is no wrong side of history. That's the correct view of history. And things that are popular now might be completely disproven in 200 years. Okay? Until Galileo and Copernicus came around, what did people believe about our solar system?
Earth was the center.
Earth was the center, the heliocentric model of the solar system. Now we know that the sun is the center of the solar system, but we also know that where we are in the Milky Way, is our solar system at the center of the galaxy? No, we're on the very fringes of the Milky Way galaxy because we can see the Milky Way from where we're at.
I mean, that's fair. We're the Camino of...
Okay?
Like, the Camino.
No, no more Star Wars references in class.
We're in the Orient Army.
It's appeal to the people. So,
Picture the past sci-fi.
yeah, there you go. And again, once we finish this one, I had a really super busy last 2 weeks, so I will get the first PowerPoint presentation and we'll complete this today. Both of them will be up on Google Classroom, as well as the links to the videos because I'm recording this. Okay, so it's not really an example, but it's the only thing I could find for being on the wrong side of history. It's saying that if you tell someone they're on the wrong side of history, automatically they'll give up. If someone tells you on the wrong side of the history, should you give up your argument?
Never.
When should you give up your argument?
When you're proven wrong.
When you're proven to be wrong. Okay. Does someone saying that you're on the wrong side of history prove you to be wrong?
That,
No, that's circular reasoning.
that statement makes no difference to the
Straw man. Yes. So,
It's not circular reasoning. Circular reasoning is repeating the same thing in different ways of saying that.
wrong. Circular reasoning saying, I proved you wrong by saying you're on the wrong side of history, and you're on the wrong side of history because you're wrong.
Yeah. That's
So, yeah.
you just
It's an endless death loop. So we already previewed straw man. We'll do it again. Changing or exaggerating opponent's position to make it easier to refute. This is common in politics, as are all logical fallacies. Lowering education spending means that you hate children. So if you want to reduce the budget of a school district, does that mean you hate all the children in the school district? No. Could be that the school district is spending money completely inappropriately, right? Here's the other one. Being pro-life means you hate women. Anyone seen that? All the time, right? We should not assume the worst about a person's beliefs. We should give them an opportunity to defend themselves. Okay, anyone need to take a picture of this before we go on to the next cartoon?
By cartoon, you mean a little like moving cartoon, right?
Yeah, if only. We're already running behind. I've still got, 6 pages of notes we have to cover, so we got to pick up the pace. All right, here's the cartoon for this.
He's about to
Oh,
take a picture.
seriously, Floan, let's go.
Hurry up.
And it takes me a long time to log in.
Okay, if it's an iPhone, you can just go to one side.
All right, so this is the straw man is people arguing against creation science, creationism, okay? And here's it. They're flat earthers. They don't believe in science. They don't believe in change. If only creationists had a brain. That's perfect. Someone turn on the fog machine and we'll really have fun. All right.
No, don't turn on the fog machine. The fire alarms will go off.
No, there's a difference between smoke and fog.
I know this because I was here last year at Halloween when we turned on this fog machine.
So, the first category that we just completed of logical fallacies was distraction, right? The second category of logical fallacies, and we're going to start moving quicker through these, so you're going to have to bear with me, is making assumptions. And when you assume something to be true without it being demonstrated true. All of these sorts of things. So making assumptions is something that is taken for granted or accepted as true without proof. And the whole point to examining these logical fallacies is that you need to come into any sort of debate or discussion or whatever with a healthy sense of suspicion. You need to ask yourself, why is this true, or why might this not be true? You need to ask yourself, what does this mean? On the other side of things, when we find out that someone we're discussing with has assumptions, it teaches us about what they believe. Okay? So that's what we're going to look at. Circular reasoning. We're really good at previewing things. Here's circular reasoning. An argument that says A is true because B is true, and B is true because A is true. What's the problem with that kind of argument?
You're just proving the same thing with the same thing.
Well, you're not proving anything. You're just making a statement without proving anything, okay? Supporting an argument by repeating your main premise over and over and over again. And here's your cartoon, Dilbert this time. What is the key to success? Hire the right employees. How do you know that you hired the right employees? Because you're successful. So the key to success is circular reasoning.
Yes.
Circular reasoning is key.
All right.
Is it going to go into circular reasoning for circular reasoning?
Circular reasoning for circular reasoning's sake. I'll let the paparazzi take their pictures, all right? Equivocation. This is the next one. I said we're picking up pace on this, so if you don't get your pictures, by next week I'll have the whole PowerPoint up, okay? All right, equivocation. Changing the meaning of a word in the middle of an argument. This is a big deal. This happens all the time. Anyone paying attention to the Amy Coney Barrett hearings?
Yes.
Where did equivocation happen?
Didn't they the dictionary change something about preference to
Yeah.
offensive?
So Amy Coney Barrett said that she's never persecuted or been biased against someone because of their sexual preference. The senator that was grilling her said, I'm sorry, sexual preference is an offensive term. That day, the online dictionaries changed the definition of preference to say that it has the possibility of being offensive, even though it had never ever been offensive before. And in fact, someone did a study and showed that the major newspapers on the East Coast all recently had used the term sexual preference. This is a logical fallacy. This is also called moving the goalposts. So that when someone is actually measuring up to expectations and you want them to lose, you change the rules of the game before they're done.
I call hacks.
Call.
It's not hacks that will be.
I'm not sure I understood that, so we're going to keep going on. Here is, this is a kind of a funny one. Calvin and Hobbes come again. A bushel is a unit of weight equal to 4 pecks. And then Calvin asks Hobbes, what's a peck? And Hobbes says, a quick smooch.
I mean,
People get what he's going there? And then at the end, Calvin says, I don't understand math at all. This is exactly how I feel about calculus, by the way. All right. So is Hobbes changing the meaning of what was intended? He's not doing it diabolically. He's doing it humorously. So in this case, a peck is, for all you English nerds there, and I might be the only one in the room, a peck is a homophone. It's a word that has different meanings, but it's the same word, or it sounds the same, right? So weather and weather.
It's spelled the same too, so it has a different term.
It has a different meaning. Yeah, I forgot what the term is. I misspoke on that. Yeah. There's something out there. And it'll come to me after class, or someone will email me. It'll be fine.
No, synonym
No.
is just
Synonym
same
is
meaning
like,
of the word, but it's a completely different word, like great and awesome.
yeah. Yeah, it's two words that mean almost the same thing.
I thought you meant like a sewer grade when you said great, I'll be honest.
Well, that would be changing the meaning of a word if you're talking about grate, and then you're talking about like grating cheese, right? Okay, loaded question. When someone asks two questions, but one question is hidden behind another question. And so think about a trial setting. I'll get to you in a second, Josh. Think about a trial setting, and the lawyer asks the person on the stand, what did you use to wipe your fingerprints off this gun? Is that a loaded question?
Yes.
What is he implying?
He's implying that he had the gun.
That he had the gun and that he wiped his fingerprints. It's trying to catch someone in a lie. Josh.
An example of this was during
Oh.
the Trump moderator debate.
Oh.
When the moderator asks, why haven't you done anything about like Obamacare or something? Anything about what the Obama administration?
Yeah, and it's getting someone to answer a question you haven't asked. It's a completely unfair thing, okay? The purpose is to make you assume the answer to the hidden question without actually answering the hidden question. Can be used to confuse an opponent in a debate. And the way we get around it is ask yourself if you can split the question and get the person to admit the real question. Now I'm done. Now you can take the pictures. Do you want me to let you know when the whole slide is up there? Okay. So everyone on board with this so far? Okay, the loaded question. Hey, where did you misplace my pipette? What's the loaded question?
That he had the pipette and then
Yeah, and then he misplaced it. What? I didn't misplace it anywhere. Oh, so you're still using it without asking. And then the last one is the funny part. It says, no, but if I find it, I could stab you with it. So we're on board with a loaded question. Remember to take good notes. All of these are going to be on the quiz.
You're going too fast, you can't take notes.
Is that his problem? He's putting the PowerPoint up.
So when I get home, I should ask you, why didn't you take good notes? I'll put the thing up, and you can review the notes. The quiz will not be open note, but you can review it before you take the quiz, okay? I'll get this up. The link to the PowerPoint will be up before I put up the quiz, okay? And what's the rule about the quiz? If it's not up by Monday of the next class, it's free, okay? You guys all get full credit. So if it's not up on the Monday after Halloween,
Wait, so when are we next meeting?
the first Friday in November.
First Friday in November.
2 weeks usually. Sometimes it's 3, but I think it's just 2.
So
November
November 5th.
5th is the next class period. So if it's not up on November 1st, is that right, or 2nd? One of those, then you get it for free, and I'll let you know. Slippery slope. Assumption that if we take one step towards something, nothing will stop us from taking a series of steps because each step is the same. Okay, this is a slippery slope. You'll hear people talk about this all the time. The example used in the book that I took out of the book was we can't buy a new dog. If you get a new dog, then you're going to want 2 dogs, and then you're going to want 3 dogs, and then you're going to want 4 dogs, and pretty soon we'll have 1 million dogs living at home. That's the slippery slope argument, okay? We argue against the slippery slope argument. This is the full slide now. We argue against the slippery slope argument by taking that progression to the logical conclusion. So it would be ridiculous for us to own 1 million dogs because then we couldn't even open the front door. So you point out the ridiculousness of the conclusion. Okay. Now I'll wait so you can take good notes. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about Theophilus. Very important person.
He's a very important person, don't you know?
He
Okay.
knows the Bible has his name in it.
My name's in the Bible.
So is mine.
So is yours. Hannah, Alexander, Joshua. You guys get your own book. So does Luke, Noah, Isaiah. Only a handful of you guys. You feel left out. All right. Slippery slope. Okay, here you go. The words are small, so I'll read it for you again. Your recycling could be a serious threat to our beloved seagulls' nesting grounds. The town dump is the beloved seagull nesting grounds. Okay, and think about this. No more seagulls equal fewer car washes. Fewer car washes equal fewer jobs. Fewer jobs equal more crime. Your recycling program will condemn our fair town to chaos. Citizens will flee in panic. Roads will fall into disrepair. Fires will rage remorselessly. And then the guy at the end says, the good news is at least if there are zombies, we'll be safe. Okay? So you guys understand how slippery slope works? The beginning of the argument, does that guarantee the conclusion of the argument? No.
Have you like ever heard of or read the books like the If You Give a Moose a Muffin?
Yes.
You Give 'Em a Muffin?
That's the slippery slope. Yeah. You guys can get extra credit if you read If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. or they're a whole TV show now on Amazon.
If we binge watch that, do we get extra credit?
What?
If we binge watch that, do we get extra credit?
No. Nice try.
You should have studied something.
Trust me, if I assign you to watch something, it will be incredibly boring and you're going to hate every second of it.
Lecture on the
All right.
Spanish flu.
So these are two that we're putting in one slide, two fallacies, the part to whole fallacy and the whole to part fallacy. Anyone got an idea what this is?
One Christian says this, so all Christians like this. All Christians say this, so one Christian says
There you go. So, part to whole fallacy. What is true of part of something must also be true of the whole thing. Okay, so this works. Each player in the U.S. Olympic team is the best basketball player at his position. Therefore, the U.S. Olympic basketball team is guaranteed to win the gold medal. What's wrong with that? What's the one word that is wrong with that? Nope. Nope.
He talks about one person being good at the position.
Well, we're accepting that as fact. Guarantee is the word. Just because the U.S. men's basketball team is made up of the best players in the world, does it guarantee they will win the gold medal?
No.
No. They have to play the games, right? Do you have a question? Okay. Whole to part. What is true of something as a whole must be true of each one of its parts. Okay, and the example from the book says, I can't go wrong investing in easy tweezer manufacturing. Everyone knows that the whole economy is booming. So if the whole economy is booming, does that mean if you invest in one specific company, you're guaranteed to make money?
No.
Correct. Okay. Everyone ready for me to advance? Yeah. Either or. The either or fallacy is assertion that we must choose between one of two options when other alternatives exist. So I actually have a video for you now, Alex. If it works. Technology of PowerPoint. Yes. I'm not going to let you take a picture of every frame of the video that's about to go up. Okay.
Either or is house rules in a nutshell.
Either or. Let's see if we can get it to go. Oh, okay. Can you hear? We're going to waste 5 minutes watching this. Totally worth it.
Hence the song.
How many of you seen this before?
It's not a monkey, even if it has a monkey kind of shape. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. It's an ape.
If you can't hear, come
If it
closer.
doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. Let's see if we can catch it on the tape. You can very plainly see if it's a monkey. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. It's an ape. Look, there it goes. There it goes. I don't know. I can't tell if it's a monkey or an ape. It's very simple, Bob. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. It's an ape. Larry, I'm not so sure. Ooga booga, it's not a monkey. Ooga booga, maybe it's an ape. If it's a nickel or a salad or a pillow, if it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. It's an ape.
You see where we're going with
If it
this?
doesn't have a tail, not a monkey. Are you sure that's what you really mean to say? A camera has no tail. It's not a monkey. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. It's an ape. I think there's something wrong with your logic, Larry. Well, Bob, the lady at the zoo said it, and who am I to tell her that she's wrong? If there's a tail, it's a monkey. No tail, ape. It's easy. But Larry, a kite has a tail. Then it's a monkey. A comet has a tail. It's a monkey. A bubble doesn't. Then it's not a monkey. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. It's an ape? Exactly. I knew you'd catch on. Larry, we might need to talk about this. I don't think the lady at the zoo meant... Look, there it goes in the trees. Follow me. It's gotta be a monkey or an ape. I can't believe it's true. All this time I've searched for you. Snap the picture. Take the shot. We're among the lucky few. We finally did it. Photographer. We discovered what we're after. Let me look. Is it an ape?
Larry, this is a disaster.
It's a monkey.
Larry, that's a cow.
That was exhilarating. Let's find more. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. Even if it has a monkey kind of shape. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. It's an ape.
This has been Silly Songs with Larry. Tune in next time to hear Bob say,
Larry, you don't have a tail.
I don't?
Nope, and neither do I.
I wouldn't be so sure about that, Bob.
What do you mean?
Oh, nothing.
So, VeggieTales teaching logical fallacies. There you go. So the either-or fallacy is being forced to choose between two options as if they are the only two options. The way I do this, and I tease my 4-year-old about this until he figured his way around it, is I will walk home and I will say, Simon, do you want me to punch you in the face 4 times or 5 times? And until you learn that those aren't the only two options, and he says, how about 0 times? Then you can kind of have fun messing with people that way, okay? So that's the either or. These are all of the assumption fallacies. Anyone with any questions about that? We're down to 20 minutes, and we have 2 more categories to fly through, okay? Statistical fallacies. These are reading the statistics wrong and coming to incorrect. So this is a pie chart. This pizza, 73% of this pizza is delicious. 27% of this pizza is also delicious. Okay? This pizza is delicious because there is no pineapple on it. That's scientific fact. Okay? All right, you guys ready for statistical fallacies? Okay. What we need are some terms here in statistical fallacies. First term we need to identify is a class. A class is a group of people or things which all have the same common characteristics. Anyone come up with a ready example of a class here, right now, in this place? Everyone taking apologetics at TAG during 2 to 3:30. You guys are a class, literally. Okay? A sample is one or more things in the class. Okay? So, 6 of the members of this class are females. That's a sample. Okay? A generalization then is a broad comment about a group of things or people. So a generalization takes a sample from a class of things and using characteristics from that sample says something about everything in the class.
It's like 1,537 if you're doing like a people test.
Measurably.
Measurably so little that it doesn't matter if you have a million more. It's just going to advance it just a little ticks.
Sure. So sample size is important. So a generalization can be a good generalization, a strong or a weak generalization. A generalization must be overthrown or adjusted if there's one contrary case. And a generalization is stronger as the sample grows larger. This is the completed slide now. You can all take your picture. Okay, the best way to talk about this, and for those of you that don't like sports, I will apologize for that. Baseball is the perfect example of what's going on in this, okay? My very first at-bat in high school baseball as an 8th grader, because only 13 kids went out for the team in North Dakota. So I made varsity baseball as an 8th grader. My very first at-bat in high school baseball, I hit a home run, except that it was 2 feet foul. So I hit a home run, but I had to come back because I crushed this ball, but it was 2 feet foul. So I had to finish the at-bat. Every one of the parents of the other players of the team thought I was going to be the superstar. And that at bat, I went on to strike out, and then I struck out each of the next 16 at bats to demonstrate that I was not a good baseball player as an 8th grader. Okay?
He just did it on principle.
No, I hit the ball hard because I closed my eyes and swung as hard as I could, and I got lucky. So, if you watch a baseball game and one player in any baseball game has 4 hits, what does that tell you about that player?
That he's okay.
That he had 4 hits. Can you tell if a baseball player is a good player or a bad player based on 4 hits in one baseball game? No. Now, for those of you who don't like baseball, you have to take my word for it. If over the course of a 162-game season, which a player will get about 650 at-bats, if a player gets hits in roughly 40% of those bats, which means he have a 400 batting average, is he a good baseball player?
Yes.
Absolutely. Only a small handful of people in baseball history have hit 400 in over one season. Okay? Do you see how the sample size makes a big difference? That's what we're going to be talking about. So the statistical fallacies are going to be on the conclusions we make from bad data, or bad conclusions we make from good data. So a hasty generalization, 2 bullet points and we'll be done with this. A hasty generalization is generalizing about a class of people based upon a poor or a small sample, and too small of a sample may not be representative of the entire class. So I see that 3 members of this class have blonde hair. Therefore, I guarantee that everyone in TAG Apologetics is going to have blonde hair. Is that a good generalization or a bad generalization? Bad generalization. Okay. Now, if you guys were all coming through, like was today picture day? No. That was last week?
No.
Next week?
Hasn't happened yet.
Okay, whatever. But say you guys all had to come single file, one at a time through a room. And the first 3 people through the room were Alyssa, Alex, and Isaiah. Then I would say, well, this whole class must be blondes. And then no one after that would be blonde, right? So, here's the cartoon. Penguins are black and white. Some old TV shows are also black and white. Therefore, some penguins are old TV shows. That is a hasty generalization.
It sounds like he's trying to roast the other penguins.
Okay, we're good? Advancing. An analogy. Okay. An analogy is a comparison of 2 items with each other. I've been using analogies all day long when I'm giving you examples of how logical fallacies work in the real world. Okay? The fallacy comes when you arrive at a conclusion that they will be the same in many ways because they are the same in one or more ways. Okay. An orange is round and weighs 200 grams. An onion is also round and weighs 200 grams. Therefore, oranges and onions taste exactly the same. Is that a good analogy or a bad analogy? Anyone want to do the research behind that for me? Okay, so that's a bad analogy. Generalization examines a sample. An analogy makes a comparison. So if I'm generalizing about a sample size, I will say the first 3 kids through picture day were blonde, so the rest of the class is going to be blonde. An analogy says, well, 3 of 15 people in this class are blonde, so I bet because TAG families have multiple kids and multiple, if we go to another class, 3 of 15 in that class will be blonde. That's an analogy. Can we compare our class with the science class going on across the hall?
Yeah.
Because it's not the same class. We can compare them, but we better have better data, right? Different people, different ages, different families represented. You ready, Alyssa?
Yes.
Okay, here's your analogy. I'm not really worried. This is a guy who's crashing his plane into a mountaintop. I'm not really worried. After all, every cloud has a silver lining. How much is that analogy going to help?
That doesn't even seem like an analogy.
Now, here's a better one then for you. How many of you have ever heard the phrase, let go and let God? Anyone ever heard that? What does it more or less mean when someone you says, let go and let God?
Give up your control.
Give up your control and let God take care of things in your life, right? That's kind of just a slogan, right? Okay, what if a mountain climber took that literally?
No, don't. You'll fall.
Right?
God made these natural laws, so gravity, God made it.
What would you guys do if on the way home your mom or your dad let go of the steering wheel and said, Jesus, take the wheel? Okay? You see bad analogies? They can be terribly destructive, okay? All right, next one. More Latin. The reason we use Latin terms is because it makes us sound smart. Okay, that's the only reason why we use it. So, post hoc ergo propter hoc. When someone says that, you say Gesundheit. Latin phrase meaning after this, therefore, because of this. Still doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Good. This is, since A happened before B, A must have caused B. Okay, so if you've done any logic classes before or anything like this, what this is saying is that correlation is the same as causation. So you're saying just because 2 things are related to each other, one caused the other.
The American Revolution happened before the Spanish Civil War, therefore the American Revolution caused the Spanish Civil War.
Because they were similarly wars. Very good.
51 before COVID, therefore that's what caused COVID.
Yeah. Well, a good logical fallacy is bad karma, right? I did this, therefore this happened because of it, okay? Anyone does something stupid and then the next day something stupid happened to you and you think, because I did this first stupid thing, this is why the second stupid thing happened to me? We do that all the time, right? You guys are bad logicians. All right. One more. Correlation does not imply causation. That's how you remember it. If any of you ever works in post hoc ergo propter hoc into a conversation, I will be duly impressed. Josh.
There are times when this is true, like World War II did happen because World War I happened.
Yes and no. World War II happened because the rest of Europe treated Germany so terribly after they lost World War I, and they left open the door for fascism. That's why World War II happened. World War II didn't happen simply because World War I happened.
If World War I never happened, World War II wouldn't have happened. That's more
Well, we don't know that, though. And maybe the fact that 2 world wars happened because of one country would indicate sooner or later something was going to happen no matter what happened. So this is the kind of dialogue that we have, and we want to make sure we don't have logical fallacies. Are we good on this one? Okay. Baseball players are heading south for spring training. Pretty soon the geese will all fly back north. Somebody needs to look at what these guys are doing to the geese. You see the logical fallacy? So players go south for spring training. At the same time, all the geese fly north. So the baseball players are causing the geese to fly north. All baseball players hate geese.
Are they hitting the baseballs at the geese on their way down, or?
If they did, I might not be opposed to it. I don't like geese. All right, we ready to go? We got 10 minutes left, and we still got a couple of pages. The two, probably unrelated, but I tune in just to hear the phrase goose abuse. That's the last one. Proof by lack of evidence. This is a big one. This is a big one in politics. Claiming something is true because nobody has given any evidence to the contrary. Okay, anyone seen the animated Alice in Wonderland?
Yes.
Okay, and the knight who is riding around the forest testing shark repellent. Anyone remember that scene? And the shark repellent must work because there aren't any sharks around the knight. Right? Okay. Claiming something is true because no one has given any evidence to the contrary. This is a big thing because of this concept, burden of proof. This is what we are going to be focusing on a lot when we get into the actual Christian apologetics section of this class. Okay? Is when someone tries to get you to prove the existence of God, what they're trying to do is get you to assume the burden of proof. And what the response to that is getting them to prove the lack of God's existence, that God doesn't exist, and then you will learn about what their presuppositions are. So, if you ask someone to prove that God doesn't exist, what are they going to say?
Or prove he does.
No, well, they will, but that's just fighting over the burden of proof. It won't get you anywhere. So, if you ask someone, demonstrate to me that you know God doesn't exist, what are they going to say? What is someone going to throw out there? Anyone come up with something? What? You can't see God. Okay. So how would we respond to that as Christians? I can't see God, therefore he doesn't exist. Okay. Well, just wait. I'll do the unfair thing too. So you guys all nominate someone for me to pick on, not Noah. Who should I pick on? Alex. Okay. So if Alex says, well, Jason, I don't believe God exists because I can't see him. And then I'll say, you know what, Alex? I can't see your brain either. Now, the problem with that is, are we actually capable of seeing Alex's brain? There's some pretty awful things we can do to see Alex's brain. Yeah. So how can we say that? And actually, this is one of the big things Billy Graham did in his ministry, air. We can't see air. Do we know air exists? We can see the effects of air. These are the sorts of things. Burden of proof is massive. Massive. Know this term. What is burden of proof? Whose responsibility is to prove what is being argued about? And when people argue against Christianity, they're almost always trying to shift the burden of proof to the Christians rather than their side of things. Okay? You get where we're coming from here? Okay. This is the eighth-fleist convention. Not atheist, eighth-fleist. What proof do we have that there is a dog? You see the pun? You kind of get that? This is funny on different levels if you're a dork like I am, okay?
Yeah, that's...
You're just doing the does God exist thing.
That's a terrible joke, but it's also...
Dog is God spelled backwards.
Yeah.
They're literally on a dog.
I know.
You guys,
It's just not that.
ha ha. You guys are killing me. Okay.
Sure, the first look at it's
Okay, this is the final category. We got 5 minutes. Do you guys want to do propaganda today, or do you want to push it to next week and do a little bit less on tactics?
Start it today and then...
No, I don't want to start a unit and stop halfway through.
I think that we might want more time on it.
All right. I've made the unilateral decision based on almost no feedback that this is where we're going to start next week, okay? I will still put up the whole PowerPoint so you guys will get to preview the end of the lesson ahead of time, but we're going to talk about propaganda next week. All right. What do you guys have due next time around? 2 things. Quiz.
You're posting the quiz on Classroom.
And posting a quiz on Classroom, and I'll email the link for people not using Classroom, and read and finish tactics. I need one of those sheets signed with your self-evaluation.
When's the cold case?
Cold case is due, what, the end of January? Cold case Christianity is? Let me see.
So I don't have to start reading.
You can, but you don't. Cold cases do the last TAG class of January, which is January 29th. Okay? All right, class dismissed. Thank you for your time.